Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This has been a season, hasn't it, Cantor?
Oh my.
Busy a season, and I just want to get the hard part out of the way, because the sermons themselves take between 30, 40 hours each. That's not the busy part. That is the busy part. That's the very high stress part. But the very time-consuming pieces are all of the other things. What do we have? We have kids services. We have to do the whole service. We're doing a story for the kids service. We are creating
costumes for the kids.
Costumes for the kids services. We're writing a script for the kids services. We rehearse the kids services. We need to do the family services. We have teaching sessions. We've got audio visual to worry about and to think about. We've got the cues. Cantor, we've got the cues. Oh my gosh, and choir rehearsals, you have no idea. So I wanted to share with you for a moment the cues. I took the book out of my shelf. This is my Rosh Hashanah. It's called a Machzor. It's a high holiday prayer book. And I have to write it all in the prayer book. I cannot follow, as Cantor knows, I cannot follow a cue sheet to save my life. So it all gets written in here. I just want to read to you, I'll turn to the first page of the Rosh Hashanah service, the things that I need to remember for a single page of our High Holy Day experience. I need to remember that we are, first of all, processing down the aisle, followed by an introduction that is not the security introduction, but I need to remember that too. In the security introduction, I need to remember to hold up the orange lanyard so you know what I'm talking about. I forgot the orange lanyard though, I'll hate. What else do we need to remember? I need to remember to welcome everybody on live stream. I'm just looking at my cues now. I need to remember to introduce each of our Bima sitters and what they represent for our congregation. I then need to remember that on page 6 is Hinei Matov. Cantor Hamstra is leading Hinei Matov. After Hinei Matov, we are calling up Cantor Hamstra's sister Rachel and my wife Lauren to light they were right here, our Yom Tov, not Shabbat, I need to remember that, Yom Tov candles, and then we go to page 11 for the next part of our service, where we can begin the cues all over again. That's what you don't see. We're just pulling back the curtain here. That's what you don't see. So the Rosh Hashanah Machzor.
Literally every word of that is written in there.
In the book. This is the book. You can see. Live stream, you can't see. So the Rosh Hashanah Machzor, multiply what I just shared with you. We have 351 pages. For Rosh Hashanah, I brought Yom Kippur. 699 pages. Friends, it's the cues that are a killer. But all of this is to say, it's worth it, right? It's worth it because Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the most important holidays in our people's entire tradition. Unless you go back to the Bible. And they're not. In biblical times, did you know this? Cantor does. Did you know that in biblical times, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are not the most important days of our year? Any guesses as to which ones are? Okay, we got Shabbat. Let me hear some other takers. Oh, we got Passover from Bill. Yes, what do you think, Susanna? Okay, so good. So let me get ahead of you, because you know exactly where we're going here. The three most important holidays are actually the pilgrimage festivals of Passover, thank you, who said this? Gabrielle. Followed by, we have in our Parsha this week from Exodus 33 and 34, followed by the Festival of Weeks, like a week of the year. Anybody know how you say week in Hebrew? Shavua, so Shavuot is our Festival of Weeks. And then our Festival of Ingathering called? Sukkot. Sukkot. Now, Sukkot is a festival of ingathering. Sukkot, biblically, was our harvest season. And harvest season was stressful. Now, I'm looking around the room. I see very few farmers here. But I want you to go back to your pandemic minds. I'm sorry, but we're going to go back to the height of the pandemic. A lot of you, and myself included, let me just speak for myself. I was very uncomfortable going into grocery stores. It made me really nervous at the height of the pandemic. So when I did go to a grocery store, I would be pushing 2 carts filled to the max, spent my entire life savings on that grocery shop because you didn't know when you were going to be able to go back, right? Or if you managed to snag one of those Instacart spots, right? You're coordinating with your whole family, you're spending $35,000 at Giant, right? So that's just how it went. When you don't know where the food's coming from, right? You got to stock up. That's harvest season. Because you go back to biblical times and there were no grocery stores. You had a week to get it all done. And so why do we live in booths? Why do we live in sukkahs? Our rabbis have many explanations. I'm going to share with you 2 tonight. The first I'm going to share right now is practical. Practically speaking, you wanted to make sure that you did not waste a minute of harvest season. Has anybody here slept in the office because you're working too many hours? Oh, I see a couple. Yeah, hands down. So this was our week of the year where we slept in the office, right? We built a house, just a hut, a sukkah, in our fields, so we didn't have to go back and forth from our houses to the fields. Every second of harvest season counted, because if you did not harvest enough, you and your family didn't have enough to eat. It was serious. It was, as the kids say these days, it was go time. There was no question about it. It was the most stressful time of the year. So let me come down and just talk to you for a minute. What do you do then on Shabbat? And it's such a rabbinic question. Well, what about Shabbat? What about Shabbat? And actually, our rabbis are not pulling Shabbat out of the air. They're asking a Shabbat question because the verse directly before the description of the ingathering of the harvest is a verse about Shabbat. It's a verse that begins with a boilerplate mitzvah. The boilerplate mitzvah is, on 6 days you shall do your work. On the 7th day you shall cease from all of your labor. You've heard this verse before. This shows up dozens of times in the Torah. But preceding the description of the harvest festival is an additional line. I'm going to read it to you because I don't have this one memorized. It only shows up once. You shall cease from labor even at harvest time. And then we have the description of this harvest festival. So, why are we commanded to stop work during the harvest season? Why are we commanded to stop work during the harvest season? Let me tell you, you fast forward some thousands of years today, every season is harvest season. Feels like, especially if you're working, if you're busy in this season of your life, every season is harvest season. And by the way, if you didn't get a chance to see all of the rabbi's sermons over this past High Holy Day season, Rabbi Schmelkin wrote a brilliant and beautiful sermon on what it means that we go so fast and what we lose when we do. I highly recommend that you watch it at some point over this week. And I've experienced this sense of busy overwhelm over these past few days. Not just because I was catching up on all the emails that I didn't respond to over the High Holy Day season, and I'm sorry if that was your emails, but also my wife Lauren was out of town from Monday through Wednesday on a business trip. And when Lauren is gone, is it safe to say things fall apart? Things don't fall apart, but I'm just barely keeping my head above water. It's not just doing the work that I love and need to do here, but I have 2 wonderful, adorable kids who have a lot of needs. They're 9 and 7, so there's always something that they need. And I got to figure out drop-off, pickup, carpools, clubs. And when I'm not doing drop-off, pickup, carpool, and clubs, I'm also working on making sure that they have enough clean clothes for the next day, which includes stain treating their clothes invariably stained from their school day, right? And make sure they go into the wash, and make sure the wash goes into the dryer, make sure the dryer goes into the laundry basket, which gets upstairs. And there's the cooking, and there's the cleaning. Lauren and I are a NASCAR pit crew finely tuned machine. But when she's gone, it's just keeping my head above water, right? So let me ask this. Anybody here a single parent or spent any time of your life as a single parent? Got a couple. Keep us off to you. Keep us off to you. Because this was just a few days of my life, and it happens from time to time. But for you, it was a season or years or decades of your life. How you got ahead, how you kept your head above water, I have no idea. How you got ahead, all the more so. And whether you're raising your children as a single parent or not, even getting ahead of everything takes additionally more work, because you and I know that there's a lot of things to worry about if we're not getting ahead, right? Forget the emails. What happens if you don't take care of your health, right? Or your finances? What happens if you don't keep up with your friends from college? What happens if you don't keep up with a hobby and you just become a flat, dull? What happens if you don't stay ahead of things? Right? Which is why some of the most successful people I know are also sometimes some of the most nervous. because we know what could come our way if we don't keep moving ahead. So we try to squeeze every minute out of our productivity. So what happens then when you do get ahead? Or maybe to ask it a different way, what do you give up getting there? There's a German philosopher, Hartmut Rosa, who talks about life as having a resonance to it. Having a resonance to it. And that resonance goes away when all you're doing is disaster prevention. When all you're doing is trying to make sure that life doesn't catch up with you. Now, ironically, actually, this is a true story. I was working on this part of the message. I was working on this. I was looking outside my office window. This was Tuesday afternoon, this past couple days ago. And I was wondering, how can I make this come alive? How can I make this come alive? That life loses its resonance when all you're doing is trying to get ahead. So I'm looking out my office window, Cantor, Hampshire, and many of you know, to my left is Rock Creek Park. It's really beautiful. Every once in a while, I see people going on walks through Rock Creek Park. It's fantastic. So it was, remember Tuesday morning? It was beautiful. It's 52 degrees, sun streaming through the fall leaves. I'm looking outside saying, ugh, I wish I could be there, but I'm here. But there was a woman walking through Rock Creek Park, and she was furiously typing on her cell phone. You could see it in her face, furiously typing on her cell phone. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know who she was typing. I don't know what email she was responding to, and she ran into a tree. God's honest truth. His tree was fine. She was fine. She doesn't know that I saw her. She kept going. But that's what happens when you spend so much time trying to get ahead, right? Which is the problem with the secular New Year, right? The secular New Year comes with promises that maybe you will get ahead this year. Maybe this will be the year where you do take care of your health, right? You do take care of your finances. Maybe this is the year where you start a hobby. Maybe this is the year when you catch up with friends. Maybe this is going to be the year where you get ahead. And then we get to the Jewish New Year, which says the opposite, that maybe you won't. And that's why we live in a sukkah for a week. Take a look at the sukkah with me. I'm going to go up. A sukkah, this is not a halakhically kosher sukkah, but it does the job for our beautiful bima. A sukkah is meant to have a few things, at least 2.5 to 3.5 walls. And I want to pay attention to the roof. Can you see the roof? The roof is not a good roof. This is actually, as far as roofs go, serving a minimal roof function. A sukkah roof is meant to, as the late Rabbi Miller said, be so porous that rain can fall into your soup. That's what a sukkah roof is meant to be. And it's different than building a house, right? A sukkah in many ways is the opposite of a house. You are out in the world when you are in a sukkah. There is no protection, but you are immersed in the world around you, which actually is a very different message. If you remember the Three Little Pigs story. Anybody remember Three Little Pigs, right? So you have the first brother who makes his house out of what?
Straw.
Out of straw. And what happens to the house out of straw? Blows down. Then you have the second brother who makes the house out of sticks. And what happens to the house made out of sticks? But then you've got the brother who who makes a fortress around himself out of brick and stone and rock. He works day in and day out, and the wind blows, and he's okay, right? So the secular message of the Three Little Pigs story is you work your tuchus off, and maybe you'll be all right. The Sukkot message is a question. Do you really want to spend your whole life building a fortress? You've got one life. You've got this one shot here on earth. Are you going to spend all of your waking hours trying to keep yourself safe and protected? Is that why you are here? Or can you live outside? Can you live outside? That's the message of Sukkot. So what if you and I gave up the illusion, because it's an illusion, we all know it is, that we can control the things coming our way? What if we gave up on the idea that we can disaster-proof our life from some untold number of dangers? Again, the late Rabbi Miller talks about Sukkot as letting go of the burden of trying to do the impossible. So on the Sukkot, I want you to stop spending so much time trying to protect yourself from the world and living in it, enjoying it maybe, being present in the time that you have. Because the upside of soup, of rain falling into your soup, as the halakha goes, as the Jewish commandment goes, is that you're able to see the stars. The only way you're going to be able to see the stars in life is that if sometimes water goes into your soup. But it's worth it because life gets its resonance back. Life becomes alive again. So let's get life its resonance back. Let's live in sukkahs this year. And then I know that this year is going to be good and sweet for you. Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.